It's a privilege to be able to work alongside him. I want to introduce him as my friend and my colleague, Mr. Dan Molina.
Good morning, everyone. This is my favorite part of the symposium, where I get to give you an overview of the symposium technologies, and I will give you an update on some of the industry trends that are happening since last year. So my first question is, how many of you attended our symposium last year? Okay, wow, that's a pretty good percentage. So thank you for coming back. You will remember some of the statistics that I shared with you last year, and how some of these trends continue to dramatically change. So this year's theme is the impact of IT. The impact of IT on just about any organization and just about any industry. So I'm going to give you several examples of companies that we're all very familiar with of digital transformation and the disruption that it's causing in our industries, in our daily jobs as well. IT impacts just about every single department in your organizations, like finance, go-to-market, research and development. And those organizations who are not leveraging the latest technologies available to them, they can fall behind, they can lose their competitive advantage. In fact, they can become non-relevant in their industries. So, did you know that the largest taxi company owns no taxis at all, right? We've been talking about Uber as an example for quite a while. But the latest example, I actually mentioned this to my coworker not too long ago. I was asking my daughter the other day, hey, what do you have for lunch today? And she goes, oh, I had Uber Eats. And I thought I had heard about Uber Eats before, but now my daughter is actually using it. And then I kind of drilled into what is it really? And they're actually signing up many restaurants, and you actually get your meal delivered to wherever you are, because they have this great network already. So I would predict today that this same company could become the largest meal provider owning no restaurants. Again, this is an example of real disruption. Who would have thought about these things just a few years ago? Another example, probably most of you are familiar with, is the largest accommodation provider owns no real estate. Same type of example. For you, Facebook. Facebook, I keep talking about on my opening keynotes because it represents social media, and I will share with you some statistics. But it's pretty interesting that they're the largest media provider, and they own no content, right? They let everybody do it for themselves. And then largest movie house owns no theaters, Netflix. I'm one of their users. I'm guilty as charged. Apple and Google, gigantic companies. I think Apple is near $600 billion market cap, so they're gigantic. And they let others write their mobile apps, and they continue to grow their ecosystem like that. Skype, the largest phone company with no telecommunications infrastructure in place. So these are very real examples of digital transformation and digital disruption, okay? So I think most of us were familiar with most of those examples that I just shared, but what's happening now? So I did additional research, and I found as recent as September 26th, this is less than a month ago, anyone requesting an Uber ride in a 12 square mile area in Pittsburgh, this is a real city, might now be randomly allocated a self-driving car. So I knew that they were testing the self-driving cars for a while, but when you read this is becoming reality in front of our eyes today. California, here we are in a beautiful state of California. Self-driving cars will not need licensed driver if the feds approve it. This is October 1st, this is this month. So, the point here is, who is going to be affected next? So I just talked about the self-driving cars. When they become widely used, which we're just getting started here, what's going to happen to the car insurance industry, as an example? If those cars are going to become more safer than human beings driving those cars, the car insurance is probably going to plummet, right? That's going to take probably several years before that happens. But again, we're providing an example of what's happening to that industry right now. So this is a nice summary of some of the industries that have been disrupted for the last 25 years, as you can see here. I mentioned a lot of examples here. TV was severely affected, banking, automotive, etc. So all safe havens will be subject to digital disruption, which is the theme of this symposium. Now, last year I gave you some statistics around the number of internet users worldwide. And you can see a nice summary there, and that's the information that I share with you. So as of at the end of 2014, there were 3 billion internet users. And as of June of this year, we have 3.6 billion. Also important to note, look at North America. 89% of the population has access to the internet. So that represents 17.3% increase just in the last 18 months. So this trend continues. Facebook, what do I show it? Again, the biggest social media provider. And in 2016, they are at 191 million users. And if you remember from the previous slide, I think we had in the US, anyway, in the US we have about 360 million population, so that's 191. That's 53% of the US population are using Facebook today in 2016. So talk about the power of communicating with the masses, the power of communicating with anyone in the world based on these statistics. This is the last one that I think I'm going to share related to this. What about mobile phone users? And right now in 2016, you can see that it's about in the 5 billion range, and that's about 68% of the worldwide population. That is truly amazing. If you were to look at these numbers maybe at the early 2000s, they would look very, very different. So net, today's digital disruption is happening a whole lot faster than ever before. In the old disruption, there were only a few companies that were empowered to actually cause disruption, right? With big R&D departments and everything, but very few companies. Today, we have about 10x the number of entities that actually have access to this type to technology and power to disrupt industries, just like I mentioned a few minutes ago. But it's about 1/10 of the cost. That's why more people can get into this. It's about 100 times more powerful. Why? Because of all this reach that you have, across the planet nowadays. So massive reach and disruption potential. So what about security? We're talking about disruption. Security has become a major, major threat, and we're going to talk a lot about security at this symposium. And I'm just going to share a few stats because we're going to have a lot of sessions that you're going to hear a lot of other attacks and threats. 63% of confirmed data breaches involve the use of weak or stolen credentials. Examples like Target, Anthem, and Home Depot compromised passwords. And the last one really caught my eye, ransomware. We hearing about ransomware, but we wanted to know some of the real numbers. And in last year, the entire year, apparently people paid $25 million in ransomware. I remember I spoken to several customers who have been affected by ransomware, and it used to be $500, right? And then you can move on. Anyway, so it went from 25 million to 209 million in one quarter in Q1 of this year. So you can see the rapid increase of ransomware in the US, about 4,000 attacks daily that are attempted. So security awareness is very, very important. You have to defend yourself. So that being said, how can IT impact your own business transformation, your own transformation in your organization? And IT departments must leverage all these great technologies that are now available at our fingertips. And many of those technologies are covered here at the symposium. We have a beautiful showcase right next door they're going to be able to access later this afternoon. But in summary, and this is something that we're working really closely with our title sponsor and great partner, Hewlett Packard Enterprise. In summary, we can say that organizations are going through their own transformation in 4 different transformation areas. One is transforming to an on-demand IT infrastructure. We have lots of technology, and I'm going to mention a few. Protecting your digital assets, that's basically data protection, but also security. We have a lot of that. Enabling your most productive mobile workplace. How many here are actually using a laptop or iPhone that you use at your workplace, not even from home or when you're out, but in your office? How many here are connected wirelessly? Wow, that is a lot of hands up. So that's going to cause the need for updating your wireless networks, etc. And we have an amazing keynote, the CTO of Aruba, coming up a little bit later today to tell us more about that. And then finally, empowering a data-driven enterprise. We talked about big data before and analytics. Now, the topic of Internet of Things has become very popular, and we'll definitely be covering that. But in NetNet, we have billions of devices that are interconnected. They're talking between them, and that's generating a great deal of data that can become information to make better informed decisions. Okay, so drilling down a little bit more on how do we represent this in our breakout session or on the showcase. Hybrid IT means that most organizations can't get rid of their legacy infrastructure that easily. You have to be able to live with it until you maybe update your applications, you modernize your applications, you make them maybe cloud native. But legacy will continue in most organizations for a very long time. Therefore, you need to think about hybrid IT. And there's new technologies coming up, like converged and hyper-converged. There's a new category called composable infrastructure that our friend Rick Lewis, who leads that group at HPE worldwide, is going to be telling us about next. We have a bonus for you at this symposium, On the Machine. You heard it first from us. Probably about 3 years ago, we had the head of HP Labs, Martin Fink, when he started talking about photonics. He started talking about memristors and other forms of persistent memory. And then next year he came back and he basically announced the machine. And Rick is going to give us a quick update on that. It's going to be exciting. Private, public, and hybrid cloud. We're definitely covering that. I personally speak to many organizations who are trying to figure out what's the right plan to go to cloud. Are there some workloads that probably are better off staying on-premise? So we can help actually do that analysis. And we have one of our great partners who also works closely with HPE, Cloud Genera, who came out with this great tool that helped us do the analysis and help you guide your applications or workloads to the right platform. So more on that later. Also very exciting, we're going to have wireless technologies. You're going to see that at the showcase. Persistent memory, that's fascinating to me. 3D XPoint, now it's called Intel's Optane. You're going to hear a lot about that tomorrow. NVDIMMs, we have a simulated demo over here. NVDIMM can make a huge positive difference for your SQL applications, as an example. Software-defined everything, specifically software-defined infrastructure. We're covering all of those. And then last but not least, automation and orchestration is a component that allows you to become more agile, which is needed. So you can see a picture there of the showcase right next door. And some of the circles there are the technologies, are the industry leaders that are actually covering some of those technologies. I'm highlighting here on red font, there's the cloud circle there in the HPE area. Check it out. Walk through one of your workloads. It takes maybe 15 to 20. It really depends on how deep we want to drill down. But that's a beautiful opportunity to start understanding what are the workloads that might really be better off staying on-premise and what other platforms may be better for those workloads. Okay? Transformation area number 2 is protecting your digital assets. Again, we have a very strong focus on security at this symposium. Starting this morning, we have the FBI special agent based out of LA. That's quite the privilege to hear directly from our dear government representative. So that should be an interesting session. But with that also comes risk mitigation. Compliance is a major topic for most of our clients. Data protection and data management and disaster recovery solutions, and you can see those represented at the symposium. Okay, I would like to emphasize, I just talked about ransomware, and I don't want to steal our speaker's thunder later on, but this is important. If you get hit by ransomware, there's a lot of technologies that can really defend you, but if you do get hit by ransomware, it's important to have a very good backup. And what if you have a backup that is only by like 15 minutes old or even minutes old? So we have technologies represented at this showcase, like Zerto as an example, that can really help you, right, be continuously protecting your data or near continuous data protection. And then if you do get hit, you could roll it back and be done with that. Okay, and that's where I'm saying in this particular size. Also, we have Silence, who is going to be one of our panelists later today, with very innovative technology, which is based on machine learning, that can truly help customers protect against malware. And is very innovative. I'm going to let him explain that, but definitely a must-see at the show. Okay, we have the security island there right in the middle with 9 industry leaders to talk to. Transformation areas, enabling the most productive mobile workplace. So you can see Aruba highlighted there. Arista is also working closely with us and also with Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. F5 has some amazing portfolio. VMware, obviously, they have great software-defined network capability. We have a great session on that and demonstrations. And also must-try demo. So Aruba did us a great favor, I guess. They set up a very interesting demo. So please drop by the Aruba section, because with an iPad, now you can track yourself as you're walking throughout the showcase. That's a really cool demo, and it just shows the power of the beacon technology, which is the same one that is being used at Levi's Stadium, where we had the last Super Bowl, where they have some of those beacons under the seats, and now you can order from your seats. It's really, really amazing technology. So please drop by the Aruba section. And also, we have a partner, their name is Secure Auth. And it's quite an interesting demo in terms of security, where they will give you their credentials to log into the laptop, but they have multi-factor authentication capability. So if you don't type the way the regular user types their credentials, you're not going to be granted access, and then you'll be asked for another form of authentication. And that is advanced technology, and the weakest link in most threats is a human element. So please stop by there and actually visit all of our security partners. And last but not least, the data-driven enterprise, big data analytics. We're highlighting Aruba again because this is new. They have a new product line called the Edge line. And that is designed to capture IoT data from retail stores, from rough environments, and they have the connectivity in place, and you have the capability of putting big data analytics on that platform. Also, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise software has great capabilities for data analytics that we covered in previous symposiums, so please drop by that area. Also, we have Splunk, and they're going to be one of our panelists as well. I'm going to let them speak more about their solutions. That's basically the summary across the 4 transformation areas, and I would just say keep calm. Enjoy digital technology. We have ways to address this digital disruption that we're seeing in front of our eyes. Let's take action today. And again, thank you so much for coming to our annual symposium, and I truly hope that you're going to get a lot of benefit out of it. So thank you.